So this is a Josh Drive Hayes video from Josh Drive Says, which I think is his clip channel. And the reason why I want to watch this is because it seems very obvious to me that Josh Drive Hayes knows nothing about Australia. Let's go.
If you've never been, I mean, I've never been to Australia, but I've seen pictures. There is nothing there. Like, statistically, when you look at the size of Australia compared to how many people are actually there and how many buildings are there and how many cities are there is nothing in Australia.
So that is actually true. If you look at Australia, and then you look at how many people are in Australia and how many buildings are in Australia and how many things there are to do in Australia, and then you compare that to the actual landmass of Australia, by definition, there is nothing in Australia. That is true.
Australia. Except snakes and spiders and everything that wants to kill you. That's what it is.
That is also true.
It's just huge amounts of nothing and danger. It's got cities. How much of Australia is uninhabited?
I may require
like, it's like 90%. It's absolutely massive. That's
yeah.
What
so
it
that
is.
so
People
right now all of this
factor.
is correct.
It is. If we just put a load of cameras around Australia and televised all events all the time, 24/7 to the Earth, what you'd get is Big Brother crossed with the Running Man. Remember that?
So that's hilarious because we actually also have Big Brother. So here's the thing. We actually have Big Brother, or at least had. So if you were to put cameras in Australia, you would have Big Brother squared. And we all know that Big Brother squared is the CIA.
That Arnold Schwarzenegger film, The Running Man? Just film Australia. That's what we need to do.
Don't forget that we are also Mad Max Fury Road on a near constant basis. Just a heads up. Don't forget, we are that as well.
That's what it could be. If you've played Dark Souls, it is Sen's Fortress. That's what it is. It is the
I have not played Dark Souls, but I'm assuming that Sen's Fortress is one of the most difficult missions, difficult bosses, difficult zones in the entire game. Would anyone like to confirm or deny that? I have not played Dark Souls.
Blight Town of the Earth. If you've played Dark Souls and you've gone through Blight Town, you know how sucky that place is. That's exactly what Australia is in real life. The British sent all their prisoners there, and we were like, haha, you'll never escape this terrible place. And then we looked at, how are they doing? They're barbecuing everything and surfing, and it's really sunny. Fuck. Like, we could have sent prisoners anywhere else. Greenland. There's nothing there. There's lots of snow.
That is also
The
true.
British sent a load of prisoners to Australia.
Australia doesn't exist. It's a front put up by the government. The country is really called Murdered Death Caps is the correct spelling. That is also not true. If we have said this many, many times on this stream, Australia does not exist. That remains to be true. Because it's actually a capitalist front designed by Disney in order to sell more toys. Because when you look at it, we were allegedly discovered by a man by the name of James Cook, and there is a villain in the story Peter Pan known as James Hook. Is that a coincidence? No, it is not. There are no such things as coincidences. Ergo, Australia is just a capitalist front by Disney.
As a punishment. And obviously it was terrible at the time. But I think the Australians have probably... They've turned that situation around in their favour. We look over at them now and they're like, that's quite a nice looking kind of ambient country you got on over there. Yeah, we made a prisoner island and they developed a society. Then why are we talking about Australia again? Because it's fascinating to me that a society can exist against gravity. That's what... When you...
It's... So... This is... Okay, so everything that Josh Drives Hayes said so far has been pretty much correct. I think it's around about here that he starts to lose the plot and not understand anything about Australia.
You are 10 years old in Australia. You get given your ground anchor, which is a little hook. All over Australia, there is...
Ground anchor. That's not a thing in Australia. See, what Josh doesn't understand, and what's really disappointing about him within this video, is that he is not aware of our kangaroo license. You can't... the very existence of our kangaroo license is pretty much the complete antithesis of the ground anchor that he is talking about. What the hell is this ground anchor that he's talking about? I don't know anything about this. Nobody in Australia knows anything about this ground anchor. Let's keep listening to what he has to say.
A series of interconnected metal wires drilled into the ground, and you hook your ground anchor onto them, and you hold yourself upside down, and you walk across. And the way...
See, we don't need that. We've never needed that. And if he spent even a minute in Australia, he would know that. Because, again, we ride kangaroos. We don't need ground anchors. Even our totalitarian government led by the emus does not require us by law to have anchors hooked onto us to then hook onto the metal wires in order to move around. It's just not a thing. The emus have delegated the kangaroos to keep an eye over us whilst providing us with ample transportation. That's just how it is in Australia.
The way that you destroy another Australian, not just kill but destroy, is you throw your boomerang at their ground anchor, which knocks it off. It opens, it's like a little carabiner clip, and then they fly off into space. You know how in Fallout...
That's also not true. Because if you throw a boomerang at an Australian who's currently riding a kangaroo, you may knock the Australian off the kangaroo, but what you're also going to do is you're going to anger the kangaroo. And the kangaroos are military trained to beat your ass. We've seen the video of the kangaroo choke holding a dog and then sizing up a human to beat its ass. So so what Josh is actually doing is advocating a very dangerous thing. You do not want to be chucking a boomerang at an Australian on a kangaroo, that's for damn sure. Roos be muscular for real? Yes. Yes. And they will beat your ass. 100%.
That's what I call a cat.
Yes. Have you not seen the video of the kangaroo choking a dog? It's a very famous video. Here we go.
We're all looking forward to seeing Max on a board, when, to our horror, it turns out to be something else altogether.
Oh no! Here! Hey! Go, just there!
Whoa, go!
Hey!
But all is not as it seems. The big buck actually has hold of the dog, not the other way around.
See?
As Greg runs in...
Boom! There it is. The kangaroo has a hold of the dog and has literally got a full-on chokehold of the dog. Why? Because the kangaroos in Australia have been military trained to use a variety of fighting techniques in order to maintain a totalitarian regime over the humans, totalitarian control over the humans, in alliance with the emus.
We realise this could get dangerous.
See? See this? See this? See this? This is every other day. If you piss off a kangaroo, this is your day.
Let it go, dogs, let's go. Now the dog's coming.
That's your day. So don't talk to me about ground anchors and throwing a boomerang at a ground anchor, Josh. You don't know what you're talking about. If you throw a boomerang at an Australian who's currently in the process of transport, all you're going to do is piss off a very angry kangaroo who's going to jump over and beat your ass.
When you're 10 years old, you get given your first Pip-Boy, and Fallout 3 starts with the whole Pip-Boy gifting. In Australia, it's that, but with a ground anchor.
That's not true either. You don't get a ground anchor at the age of 10 because A, you don't get a ground anchor point blank, but B, at the age of 10, you are halfway, you actually start off with your beginner's kangaroo license. See, in Australia, we have a licensing system for kangaroos. For the riding and use of kangaroos. And this is something that is given to us by our totalitarian lords, our totalitarian lords, the emus. The legislation in Australia, and you can look it up, is that you start off with a learner's kangaroo license, which starts at 10 years old. Which, by the way, you would be in grade 5. At about grade 4, grade 5, thereabouts. You start off with your learner's kangaroo license. You then move on to something called the Red P kangaroo license, and that comes around about age 12, age 13. And then at around age 16, you have the P-platers kangaroo license. And at that point, you can start, like, the thing is, like, with the red P's kangaroo's license, you're able to actually use a kangaroo without parental supervision. And that's really important because a lot of people at the age of 12, they want to be able to go to their friend's house without their parents having to drop them off, you know? And they get to use their kangaroo without having to have a parent there watching them and making sure that they don't crash their kangaroo into someone's house. Because you don't want to crash a kangaroo into someone's house. Because that kangaroo is going to get pissed. Basically, everything you do has to be in the service of not pissing off a kangaroo. You know? So that's red peas. Green peas, the kangaroo recognizes that they can that you're a safe and somewhat responsible kangaroo rider, and they will then begin to hop even faster, you know? And then finally, as I do, like, you'll have your full kangaroo's license. And when you have your full kangaroo's license, you're also allowed to travel with you're also allowed to have drunk people on your back while the kangaroo is providing you with travel. You know, like, while the kangaroo is helping you travel across the world, or rather across Australia, you are also able to bring one drunk person with you, provided they don't, you know, throw up over the kangaroo. Because again, if that drunk person throws up all over the kangaroo, that kangaroo's gonna get pissed. And once that kangaroo is pissed, well, you're gonna get your head beaten in. That's just the deal. That is the kind of totalitarian regime that we are living under in Australia. And it just really, it just saddens me to see Josh Strife Hayes, one of the biggest MMO YouTubers out there, blatantly misrepresent my country like this.
Actually a surprisingly apt analogy, because just like Fallout 3 and Australia, when you leave the vault for the first time, it is just a barren wasteland in front of you. Fallout is actually
that is
a
true.
photorealistic version of
That
Australia.
part is true.
That's what it is. Did you see that? Did you see how I just threw someone in the chat? I'm absolutely lost. In Australia, there is nothing.
I don't know where it is.
Yeah, that part is true. But the whole thing about ground anchors is completely it's not based on any reality whatsoever, because we don't need ground anchors. We don't need ground anchors when we have kangaroos to ride, okay? That's just the deal. And the fact that Josh Strife Hayes, one of the biggest YouTubers out there, doesn't understand such a basic concept, it really disappoints me. It just really disappoints me. Very much.